here? So hearing none, we'll move to our agenda items. Item A, I would entertain a motion to approve the contract with Michigan Mental Health Court for a grant in the amount of $88,337, the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant in the amount of $53,000, the Michigan Drug Court Grant Program in the amount of $80,000, and the Swift Insurer Sanctions Probation Program Grant in the amount of $60,000, and authorize the board chair to execute all necessary documents.
So moved.
Support.
We have motion and support. I know we have Judge Stewart and Chrissy Ladd from Circuit Court here, if you'd like to share with us.
I would, a little bit off topic. I hadn't had a chance to address the board, and I know that you're all not here, but chairs, administration, on behalf of the 35th Circuit Court and its staff, thank you for the absolutely marvelous job that was done on the restoration of our historic courthouse. I'm without words, and that's saying something because I always get words. It is truly amazing. I've never seen anything like it. And not only that, this board and this administrator made sure that we had a place to work while the restoration was being done. And folks, you went above and beyond to make sure that the court was able to do its business. Actually constructed a courtroom in a hospital. That's what you did. You made a courtroom in a hospital and gave us a place to work. And thank you for that. Gave us offices, and thank you. And when it was time for us to come home, we came home and we got to work. So I just can't tell you how much we appreciate it. It's amazing. You've preserved what I call the treasure of our community. And it really is a treasure. And thank you for preserving that. For many judges after me, hopefully. So thank you. And on to the topic here. If this board approves our grant awards for fiscal year 2024, that will take our grant funding since inception of the treatment courts in 2016 to $1.5 million in grant money. $1.5 million. It's hard to think about some work we do with those kind of numbers. You know, what I do, you know, that's a little bit different for you, but that's a big deal. That's money that comes into our community and stays in our community. And so thank you for supporting that. Through our programs and over the years, we've served dozens of participants that have graduated and went out into the community. They've gotten jobs, they pay taxes, they have families. The sobriety that we taught them to achieve is spread to their families and their friends and their coworkers, and it's community building at its finest. So thank you for the courthouse, thank you for accommodating us during its rebuild, and thank you for support for our treatment courts.
Thank you, Judge Stewart. Are any of these new grants, or are these all?
Yeah, ma'am, you didn't mention the Veterans Treatment Court Planning Grant for $14,000 that we were approved. The planning grant is when we'll get to seed our Veterans Treatment Court. We've had a Veterans Path in our mental health court, but we've got the participants now where we can make it its own self-standing and running court. And that's $14,000 we were approved.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
And I think I'd like to say thank you to Judge Stewart and to all of your staff for the amazing work that you have done in our community. Just on a personal note, I had an opportunity to make a visit at MDOC Saturday, which I have never done before, and thought as I was sitting there of the kids I know whose parents didn't go to MDOC because of treatment courts and don't have to go through that whole process that I watched young children coming to visit their parents. And I as I sat there, thought how grateful I was for you and for the treatment courts, so thank you.
Your Honor, just a quick question, because I'm curious. How does it tie in with our pretrial services?
Well, actually, it's the other way around. Pretrial services is a side effect of what Circuit Court has been doing for the last 5 years. And instead of lodging somebody awaiting a disposition on a case, we have drug testing. We have alcohol monitoring. We have curfew check and monitoring, and that's really what pretrial services is. More of a broader, and to include, well, primarily district court, right? Circuit Court, we've been doing that for years. But we've been doing it, we're kind of begging and borrowing the best we can from other resources, but with some of the opioid money and maybe PA 511 hopefully coming down the stretch, it'll be able to fund itself. And treatment courts, they work hand in hand, and they'll all be under community corrections, pretrial services, treatment courts will all work hand in hand. to avoid incarceration and ultimately the Department of Corrections, which is really the goal of all this, is prison diversion. And we've seen results. Of the participants we've had go through our program, we've had less than a 5% recidivism rate. That means 5% of our graduates have committed a new crime. That's amazing. Considering that the national average for treatment court graduates recidivism rate is 55%, and we're less than 5%. I think we have one that committed a new crime after graduation, and that's our 5%. We're not very happy with this individual.
Broke your record.
Yeah, well, it was nice to be able to say we have a 0% recidivism rate. It was nice to be able to say that for a couple of years, but we have one, and so we'll hopefully get a chance to work with this individual again. So it all ties hand in hand, and it's all for the greater good, and it's all working out beautifully.
Great, thank you.
Does that answer your question, sir?
It does.
Okay. Any other questions that I can entertain if you have any? Be happy to.
Thank you. Madam Chair, just two things. So one, in your memo from me, you'll notice the trends over the years and that the judge continues to increase his grant funding for these programs, which is emblematic of its success. And second, you might want to amend the motion to include the $14,000 for the Veterans Treatment Court.
The coordinator is correct that we do see an increase in grants year after year, and that's that we've gained the confidence of the grant givers, right? They don't want to throw $500,000 or $1.5 million in a court that's not going to do anything with it. We've got the planning grant for the Veterans Treatment Court is only $14,000, and that's because it's new and they want to see how you do with it before they give you more. And if you see that our MDCP is $80,000, that's a testament to the work we do. Thank you for acknowledging that, Mr. Coordinator. That's right.
So who made the motion?
Commissioner,
Are you okay with adding the 14,000 for Veterans Treatment Court, and you're okay with that for a second? Is there any further discussion? All in favor of moving this to tomorrow night, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries to tomorrow night. Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Chrissy, for being here.
thank you all very much.
Item B, I would entertain a motion to approve the purchase of 10 modems for antennas for Sheriff's Patrol vehicles.
So moved.
Support.
So very briefly, this is not a budgeted item. We were planning on putting this in next year's budget. However, we're going to finish this year with some extra money, so we'd rather pay for it out of this year, plus the price goes up $500 per unit next year. So it was advantageous for us to buy it this year instead of next year. However, where you think that would be a savings in next year's budget, it is not, because the price of a vehicle for road patrol went up equal to the total cost of modems. So it's kind of a wash in many ways, but it's better for it to come out of this year's budget and save us additional funding.
Should there be a number on the motion?
It doesn't have to be. You can add it if you wish, not to exceed 16,850, but it's not required.
What you should do.
It's probably good practice.
Right, throw it in tomorrow.
Okay, let's add that if you would. All right, we have motion support. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor of moving this to tomorrow night, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you. Item C, I would entertain a motion to approve the contract with Ottawa County and Shiawassee County for the Juvenile Detention Center bed rental agreement.
So moved.
Support.
Motion and support, Dr. Boggs.
So we have a couple of these. This one is different than the other one that we have, I think, in Monroe County. So the one that we have down south of here, we pay for whether we use or not. We rarely use the Ottawa County facility according to family court. However, they have moved to a contract requirement for us to be in the loop to use it. If we do use it, then we have to pay. But if we do not use it, we do not have to pay. We rarely use that facility, but we have when we don't have a place to put someone. And juvenile detention center beds are at a premium in different places in the state. So this one will not cost anything unless used, as opposed to the other one that we have with Monroe County, which we do use, and according to Sarah, is filled every day. So.
Does this fall under the 75% reimbursement cost?
I believe it does.
I think it would, it's probably not indicated in the contract because that's not their concern, but I think it does. Okay, any questions, discussion on this contract? All in favor of moving this to tomorrow night, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? And this brings us to item D. I would entertain a motion to confirm the board chair's appointment of the is it Corte or Court? To the County 911 Board for a 3-year term.
So moved.
Support.
Motion and support.
Well, this is because of a resignation on the board that represented a particular division, the EMS division. So the EMS group, or groups throughout the county got together to write their recommendation. Their recommendation matches the only letter we received for the position, and this is that person.
There we go. Probably no further input from us is needed. All in favor of moving this to tomorrow night, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, that carries forward. And for our last call to the public, seeing none, I will declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
It wasn't Brad, not bad.